Coming at you from the Tackle Warehouse headquarters in beautiful San Luis Obispo, California. It's the lopsided weight battle of the world between two anglers of aggression. This interview was originally scheduled to take place at a catch weight of 300 pounds, but these two have agreed that the only weight they're concerned about is their next 5 fish limit. One of these fighters has the 5th most takedowns in UFC history. The other has the 5th most takeouts in Domino's history. This one is about to boil over. This tale of the tape brought to you by Northern California's very own G-Ratt Baits, makers of the world famous Peak collection of glide baits. First up in the blue corner, we have the reigning heavyweight worm king of the universe. He's a fan favorite, a titan of tackle, the sultan of swim baits, and an angler who loves to get bit. Standing at 6 foot 2 inches and weighing 300 and change, this power fisherman has been representing Tackle Warehouse since 2016. It's time to get off the tracks because here comes the A-Train. And in the red corner, the challenger, a hard bait himself with recently cut locks and a well-groomed beard, a multi-species angler who knows how to outwork the competition. Standing at 5 foot 7 inches and weighing 155 pounds, he's one sneaky beat. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome in Clay the Carpenter Guida. Backed by G-Ratt's very own Garrett Dixon, Guida is coming in from the Gillz and Thrillz organization where he has held multiple belts for the last few years. He is looking sharp and in shape for this bout. And there you see his signature slap as he gets ready to derail the A-Train. And now we have the defending champ making his way to the video studio clutching the title worm. He's backed by Tackle Warehouse product buyer KP. I gotta tell you, in all my years covering these events, I've never seen a worm used like that, but hey, whatever gets you going. As he enters the studio, we are ready to get this bout started. Quiet on the set, please.
What's cracking, peeps? It's the A-Train coming at you with a special interview. Here with me from the UFC, we got Clay Guida. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. I know you got a fight coming up. Speaking of fights, tell me what you got going on in December.
First of all, Aaron, A-Train, thank you so much for inviting us out, man. Tackle Warehouse, the headquarters, the mecca of fishing. We're so pumped, we're so honored and thrilled to be here. It's a company that I've been buying products from for probably over a decade, and to be here and step foot in such an amazing place is, it gives me chills, man. So December 3rd, man, we're coming right back to the home of ICAST. We're going to Orlando, the Amway Center, the house that Shaquille O'Neal built. Penny Hardaway for all you 90s basketball fans out there. We're pumped. We're gonna be fighting Scotty Hot Sauce Holtzman on an ESPN Fight Night, December 3rd, man. I can't wait to get back in there and mix it up for all of our fighting friends and all of our fishing fans back home. It's gonna be awesome, and especially for all those people that were affected by the hurricane in Florida. Hurricane Clay is gonna be ripping through Orlando December 3rd, so make sure you check it out on ESPN.
So give me a little background on your MMA history.
Man, I wouldn't even know where to start, man. So I think when we first made a big name in mixed martial arts was when I got to fight at the Shark Tank, the HP Pavilion up in San Jose. I fought Josh the Punk Thompson, and it was for the lightweight Strikeforce title belt back in 2006. And then we won that fight, won the belt. I remember it was Chuck Norris was in the crowd. It was his 65th birthday, and next thing you know, after we won the fight, he was behind me and he put the strap around our waist, man, and that's when I knew we were gonna do this for a long time. And then kind of moving forward, that was in March, and then lost the belt to one of the best fighters, in lightweight history, Gilbert Melendez, who ended up being a Strikeforce champ. He fought for the UFC lightweight strap for once or twice. Lost that to him, unfortunately, and then October 14th, 2006, which will be next week, man. It'll be 16 years in UFC. So we've had a lot of longevity in the sport, it's safe to say. And I think that's what people kind of, relate to us, the working man, the blue collared, worker. That's where the nickname the Carpenter kind of came about. We were, in the Chicago Carpenters Union forever. They've been a huge support system for us. And I think people can relate to us just because of that. Our fight style is not flashy. It's kind of just rough around the edges. It's sloppy, but it keeps people on their feet and keeps them tuned in. So moving forward from that, it's we've had, we were number one contender once, came up a little bit short. We've had a couple, been fortunate enough to have a couple like fight of the years, and then one of them that people talk about all the time against Diego Sanchez got us into the UFC Hall of Fame, which is one of mine and my family's, brightest moments, as being a professional athlete. And it's cool. They gave us a real big trophy, and we got to do a presentation at the fight week in Vegas in July, and when they inducted us, and they inducted Diego afterwards, and Michael Bisping, Shad. So it was super special to have my family, friends, coaches, teammates, all there in the crowd and just supporting us, man. So yeah, and here we are all these years later, man, and now I get to do what I love. I get to compete, I get to fight, and I get to fish for fun, and now we're making a career out of fishing. So it's what got me here today, and like I say, the best is yet to come.
So with your passion and what you do for work, how did you get into fishing?
Man, my love for fishing started when I was just a wee little boy. My old man, one of my best friends, took me and my brother and sister fishing when we were just little for bluegills. We would, go for catfish, and just from the very base of fishing. We were, so low middle class that we couldn't always afford to go get night crawlers. So our dad taught us how to basically make worms overnight. We would take out the garden hose, put it in the front yard or the backyard, and just let the thing run all night. Put it underneath a log. You come out in the morning, there'd be like 50 night crawlers right there. So we put them in a little fishing worm box with some mud, and then we go off to the local pond or go to a little quarry or go to a lake that my dad would sneak us into, and because he knew we were going to catch stuff that was going to keep us busy. We still weren't bass fishermen at the time, but I loved to catch bluegill. I loved to catch catfish, and so that's really where it stemmed from. And then the sport of MMA has really paved the way where I'm able to travel and fish all over the country and all over the world. So we're super blessed to be able to have that freedom to fish, in different waterways all over the world.
Very nice. So you said you started off bluegill and catfishing. When did you make that transition to bass fishing, and how did you get hooked up with the G-Ratt guys?
That's a good question. So I started bass fishing, I would say probably 2 or 3 years into my UFC career. I was on a vacation actually down in Mexico with my former manager, his brother Dom. We went out to Puerto Vallarta, and he's like, "Yo, Guida, you like to fish?" I'm like, "Absolutely, man." He's like, "All right, we're gonna go hit these waterways," but at the time we were just going for saltwater. We were going for these fish called snook, which now that I live in Florida, we fish for them all the time, and they have a lot of similarities, I think, to bass, and we went out there with this awesome, Hispanic guide, and we just crushed these snook. We caught a bunch of Jack Crevalle, which I never caught before, so that kind of ignited the fire to fish again, and so ever since, I think it was right after I fought Roger Huerta, I was just like sold on fishing again, because I got away from it for a while because I was wrestling in college. I was fishing on a fishing boat in Alaska on a commercial ship, trained to fight. I was in the Chicago Carpenters Union, so all these things that led up to today, up to right now, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, what did I love to do when I was a kid? I loved to fish, and so it was one of those. Bass are the ultimate to me. I love, now that I live down in Florida on the saltwater, I find myself on the saltwater more, but nothing I hold, more dear and close to my heart than, to catch a nice, beautiful green bass, or a bass from anywhere in the country. So it kind of stemmed from that, and then I was fortunate enough to meet, the G-Ratt boys, the co-founder, Garrett Dixon and Hank DuBose. I met Hank actually because, he's a huge fight fan, and I was going to see my coach and a good friend of mine, Uriah Faber, was fighting at a UFC pay-per-view on New Year's 2019, I believe, and we were up in the VIP area hanging out with the other fighters, and I walked in, and Hank DuBose, co-founder of G-Ratt Baits, comes up, "Hey, Guida, big fan," him and his wife, super nice folks. They came up, he's like, "Hey, I run G-Ratt Baits, we found out that, we got a couple in your hands, through some friends a while back," and I was like, "Oh man, this is awesome, thanks, for all the support, nice to meet you, this and that," and we exchanged numbers, and I went to the ISE, the International Sportsman's Expo in Sacramento. And I went over by the G-Ratt Bait booth because everyone's like, "Wait, you got to come down, you got to check this out." And I got to meet Garrett Dixon, the other co-founder, and I could just tell his passion just ran so deep about his brand, about the baits that they designed, in back in the day, in microwaves, just little things they were putting together, and to see the display that they had, and to see the pro fishermen that were surrounding their display, that were surrounding their booth, it was next level on how nice he was, how gentlemanlike, how polite he was, and just he was like, "Yo, check this out. Let me know what do you think about this one, Clay? What do you fish for?" And at the time, I had never really fished with glide baits and used swim baits, stuff like that. So that was also, you know, diving into a whole new pond, basically.
Whole new world.
And yeah, it opened my eyes to, you know, bigger bass, different techniques, different styles of fishing. And so yeah, we've been buddies and business partners ever since. And it was pretty funny. So he took me, I was like, hey, hold on, let me work with this customer real quick. And he's like, I got to show you something. So he takes me out in the back, me and my buddy Lewis, and he's like, check it out. He brought us out to the trailer, and he just starts unloading these baits. He gives me a bag about this big, like pretty much a 5-gallon bag of probably maybe $2,000 worth of glide baits. I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I have the rods that can facilitate these monsters, dude. And it was just, I knew how, you know, dialed in he was, the sport of fishing, and just what good people they were. So it's been a pleasure to be teamed up with G-Ratt Baits.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, buddy. Look at what we got.
Look at that,
man.
man.
It's bigger than 20, baby.
Yeah.
Smoke the papa.
Smoke that Papa Pete bone, baby. What you think about that?
Smoke the papa. Yeah.
I'm a fellow swim baiter myself, and I love G-Rats, but I notice they have something I've never seen before. What's going on here?
All right, so a little history on G-Ratt Baits. They made a huge splash in the swim bait and glide bait industry as soon as the Sneaky Pete hit the water. As soon as it got in these big pro fishermen's hands, these swim bait guys like yourself. Once you guys, you know, see just the detail in the, you know, in the paint jobs and the artwork, and just the double body, and, you know, these big meaty hooks that they have, these cutting edge hooks, the, you know, 360 rotating rings right here. I mean, these things can stand up to the test of a tarpon, of a freshwater king, the muskie, you know, of Jack Crevalle. I caught a 48-inch cobia down in saltwater on this little, one of these little pistol Petes right here. So these things are durable. They're made out of PVC, and just the action, the scented, discolored, you know, tails that you can, you know, switch in and out. These guys really set the bar and kind of, I think, set themselves apart from the pack of glide baits and swim baits. And like I said, this was all new to me. So because, you know, people relate me now that I'm in Florida to saltwater. I find myself on the saltwater a lot more, but I'm still, you know, a bass fisherman at heart. So we wanted to really capture both. So that's why we came up with the sexy shad over here. I call it the war paint. And I remember I was at my first iCast 2 years ago when I first met the Tackle Warehouse guys. And my business partner, Hank DeBow, is the co-founder of G-Ratt Baits. He goes, Guida. He goes, Jimmy Houston is a mile, I'm sorry, he's one aisle over. And I grabbed the 2 G-Ratt Baits, our prototypes, and I grabbed a Gillz and Thrillz t-shirt, and him and I sprinted through the aisles, man, and I chased down one of mine and my dad's and our brother's fishing heroes, man.
Mine too.
Yeah, and sure, yeah, he turns around. I'm like, Mr. Houston, how are you, sir? And he turns around, and guess what? He's got sunglasses on inside, man. Just as I would have expected, man. And long, blonde, curly, or yeah, straight hair or whatever, and it's just as nice as could be. And he had his fishing buddies with him, and I had our buddies with us. And I just asked him, I was like, you know, my dad and I were diehard fans since we were little, you know, Saturday mornings after, whether it was, you know, wrestling practice or a football game or something like that, or baseball game, we would come back, or before we would watch, you know, we would watch yours and Bill Dance and Roland Martin's TV shows and stuff like that. So he was super, super nice, very polite. And I pulled these things out like, you know, gunslinging. I'm like, he's like, oh boy, what you got there, young man? And I'm like, well, we're into the fishing industry now, and we're coming up with these, you know, these colors. We want your professional advice, your opinion on them. And we don't have a name yet for them, but we're coming up with these signature colors. And he kind of told us, you know, exactly what he thought, you know, would be productive and what was going to sell and what was going to catch fish. You know what I mean? So it was cool to get his advice. And then we took another step further, and we opened it up to the public. We went and did a video. My business partner Garrett Dix and I, we went and did a video of, we opened it up, color schemes, and we asked them to come up with names. We went online, we posted videos to get like everyone else's input, our fan base, our clientele, real true bass fishermen, glide bait and swim bait fishermen. And so we came up with the Guida's Sexy Shad here, what I call with the war paint, and the Guida's Citrus Shad over on this one. So you guys see the citrus that runs through it. You got the darker blue on this one. We know that these are going to be, you know, proven for saltwater and for freshwater, anything from snook. Like I said, tarpon I've caught them. I caught a giant cobia, muskie. I think these things aren't going to be able to stand them. You know, it's really going to act just like a sucker cruising through. I don't think there's any fish that these things won't catch. These have been proven in Guyana. These guys were catching 300, 400 pound arapimas, arowanas, peacock bass. I mean, you name it. These things are going to get it down on the water, fresh and saltwater.
This will definitely get you bit. So what are some of your other favorite G-Ratt baits?
Oh boy, I was waiting for you to come across that question, man. Man, I tell you what, if you guys were at ICAST, which I know a lot of people were, they unveiled 3 of what I think are going to be revolutionary baits. And for all those topwater fishermen out there, there's one called the Proper Buzz, which I think is named just absolutely perfect. It's a combination of a buzz bait with this hard body, and there's a plopper, there's a propeller tail on the back of it, and this thing just plows through the water. It buzzes, it vibrates, it's violent, it splashes, it makes noise, and these fish, they can't handle it, man. And they come up and they'll crush this thing, they'll knock it, 12, 16 inches into the air, and when they latch on, it's got 2 treble hooks on it, and you don't even really have to set the hook. The work's already done for you, and this thing is just, it's next level. And to see some of these pros and these bass fishermen that were at ICAST and just holding this thing like it was a baby, and they were just examining every little bit of it, and just the perfect display case that it was in. I think that's the next big name in topwater fishing. Moving forward from there, the Con Frog. This thing is awesome. It's an incredible frog. It's got a plastic nose on it, and this thing just rips right through the lily pads, through primrose, through brush, through sticks, logs. It doesn't get hung up on anything. It doesn't hold a lot of water. It doesn't, like some of them will start to sink if they, take on water. And this is another one. It's super durable. You can fish with this thing all day. It's lightweight, and you can cast this thing anywhere you want. It doesn't get caught up. So that's, I think, the next big frog that's going to be out on the market soon. And then the last one, which pertains to fighting, this one's called the Fighting Fish. And it's got, I think, it looks like a samurai. It's got this hard shell, it's hard body face, and then it's got like almost dreads, or it's got like a skirt on the back of it. So it pretty much, it looks like a samurai. It's got these big eyes on it. And then you could put any type of trailer you want on it, and this thing just wobbles through the water. It looks, the color scheme is the bluegill color scheme, and this thing, it just has its own natural action. You can just reel it, and this thing, these fish, they can't get enough of it, man. So there's a few special baits that are coming out by G-Ratt Baits that are really, really gonna be head turners, and some of these pros and some of these just novice fishermen can really, fall in love with fishing again and be like, I can use that almost anywhere, any fishery I go, and not have to know the fishery very well, and you're gonna catch fish on them. They're proven, and they'll be on the shelves soon.
So what are your goals as it pertains to fishing?
It's funny you ask, because goal setting is huge in sports, huge in life, and I also pertain those very closely to my fishing career. And we've been very fortunate to start a fishing entertainment guide service called Gillz and Thrillz of Guida. And I got to team up with my friend, business partner, and teammate Chad Mendez and Mike Papa were the ones that really helped me get Gillz and Thrillz of Guida off of the ground. Chad Mendez owns Fins and Feathers Guide Services, Celebrity Guide Services, and what it is it's a hunting and fishing guide service where he has, they call them celebrities, I call them athletes, anywhere from Tito Ortiz to Dan Henderson to Max Terrio to WWE guys, country singers. They go on hunting guides with them, hunting trips, fishing trips with us, from tuna trips in San Diego to tarpon trips down in Florida. So basically our clients come out with us, and we pair them up with, a celebrity or an athlete or a musician or something like that, or, an actor. And so we fish or hunt for a day, and then we take them, with Gillz and Thrillz, then we take them to a UFC event. I'll take them to a professional sporting event. I'll take them to a live concert, and we're fortunate enough to work with bands like Zac Brown Band, Metallica, Slightly Stupid, G-Love. The list goes on and on. So we've been very fortunate to have our MMA fan base, and our fishing audience kind of connect, and we really give them a behind the scenes kind of backstage, experience, and it's really one that you can't really, explain or put a price on. So we're very fortunate that we're able to do that, and kind of give our fans, what I love to do is go to concerts, is fish all the time, and go to UFC fights and compete. So I like to give back to our fans and let them, kind of bring them along and show them, what we love to do as well.
Yes. So are there any similarities between MMA and fishing?
Man, that's actually a great question, and there's several similarities, I believe, between training for a certain opponent and studying and an overview of what you're gonna, what species that you're targeting. And there's nothing like, people say that MMA is it's a one-man sport, mano a mano, but it can be said for for fishing as well. You're the only one holding that rod. You're the only one fighting that fish. Hopefully your gear's ready. Hopefully your lines are tight. They're not frayed. They're not nicked. You made the right knot. You made that proper cast, you know, you underneath that tree, that mangrove, whatever it may be. Hopefully you set up that takedown, you know, that combination. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of film that we watch with our coaching staff that I watch on my own, a lot of studying, you know, just like, you know, I'm not a competitive fisherman yet. I would love to someday, you know, learn to compete and get on the water. I've only fished a couple tournaments, more just for fun on short notice. People ask me, hey, Guida, you want to fish this weekend? My partner wasn't able to make it, so. But I see in, you know, some of the stress that these competitive fishermen put on themselves, and I feel like that kind of carries through to what these MMA and these, you know, these coaches, you know, put on themselves as well, you know, for their athlete, for their student. You know, for the ultimate goal, to get your hand raised at the end of the day, you know, to hoist that trophy, you know, to reach into that bag and pull out that double-digit fish, or that one that's going to put you over the edge, you know, to win by, you know, 3.5 ounces or 1.5 pounds, whatever it may be. So there's definitely a lot of similarities in the dedication, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. You know, if you just want to slide by, you know, and be an average, you know, athlete or an average fighter, you know, you're going to get average results. If you want to be, you know, the top echelon, you know, on the water, you know, you better put that time in and do the extra. That's why I always do the road work. You know, these guys know that I'll fish all day, you know, when I'm in training camp, but when I get home at 6, 7, 8, 9 at night, or when it's dark, I'll go run and do, you know, I'll go do my hill sprints. You know, I'll go run my 3, 4, 5 miles. I'll always do more than I know I can, just because I know that guy's, you know, looking down the crosshairs at me. He knows we're going to be fighting soon, and he's trying to take my head off. So definitely a lot of similarities, you know, in the sport and such as life. Are you willing to go a little bit further, you know, to get that little extra out of it?
Hey, appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us, but I got one important question I have to ask you.
Let's hear it, man.
Would you rather punch someone in the face or get bit on a swim bait?
Oh my goodness, dude. That's like the $10 million question, dude. I'd rather punch someone in the face and get hit on a top water bait, man.
The best of both worlds.
There you go.
I like it. Hey, appreciate you hanging out with us, Clay Guida.
Thank you, guys. You know what we say, Gillz and Thrillz of Guida. Come for the gills, stay for the thrills. One good burp out of the way here. You see some of the camera guys in the back, they're just like, all right, dude.
Action.
Hey, thank you for the You get a mic check on me? What's cracking, peeps? It's the A-Train coming here with a
There we go.
Nice.
I hope you're recording that. Excuse me, guys.
Title worm.